Well, Swindon Town are currently 6 points adrift of safety in League One, less than a year after reaching the playoffs. Once a Premier League club, they're now heading for the 4th tier of English football, unless Paul Hart can perform another Houdini act.
He's been something of a short-term survival expert, but Paul Hart's latest assignment could be the toughest of the lot. The Swindon manager has drawn 3 of his 4 games in charge. Keeping the club in League One is all that matters.
I think if you look at the league table too often, you drive yourself insane as a manager. I think the key is not to panic and to enable the players to play in an environment that suits them. And I keep saying it's at the end of the season that we look at the table and see where we are. The players have shown to me that they desperate to stay in this division, and to a man.
After the heartache of a playoff final defeat, Swindon's prolific strike force of Charlie Austin and Billy Painter was broken up. Painter's goal-scoring exploits prompted Leeds United to sign him. Austin went in January's transfer window, another significant departure, and with their resources stretched to the limit, the decline has been dramatic. Now they face up to the very real threat of relegation.
This has been a bit of a kick in the teeth, and if we went down, I think the disappointment would be huge. But I think or hope that when this would settle, I don't like talking in this way, but it's a very, very good football club, that it would rise again. I think they've got the capability.
Hart is remembered for keeping Portsmouth up to enhance his managerial reputation. He repeated the feat with Crystal Palace, who retained their championship status in dramatic circumstances. Now he wants to make it a hat-trick of successes at Swindon.
What we've got now, I feel, is a group of players that are having a real go and showing people that they want this club to stay in the division. If this whole club pulls together, we can shift mountains. And, we're just nudging a few hills away at the minute, but we can get there.
Hart is hopeful of a long-term future at Swindon Town. Now the focus is on the trip to Brighton and a meeting with the league leaders who've not lost on home soil.
I like the way they play. The most difficult way to play football in any division is to get the ball down and pass it. And you need a lot of courage to do that, both as a manager and as players. So I admire where they are, but that's not to say that we're not going to go there and try and mess it up.
For Hart, there's a reunion in store with friend and rival Gus Poyet.
He's a really funny man, bubbly and outgoing and fantastic to be around, and I really like him, and I think the job he's done there has been absolutely superb, and I'm pleased. I'm really pleased for him because he's a top bloke, and I really hope he goes up.
You wouldn't put it past Paul Hart to get something out of that game, but he may have to wait till after Brighton to start the run.
I think if you are going to do a job, you need tools for the job, and Harty's got the tools for that job. Having said that, I thoroughly agree. I think the Brighton game isn't going to be the one that he's going to get too many points from, but I think that Swindon, once again, you look about inspired choices, and Hart is an inspired choice, knows the way around, knows what's required at that key time of the season and fighting relegation. And I think if anybody can get them out, it's going to be Harty.
The guts were ripped out of the club, weren't they, in terms of losing players? But this is Paul Hart's record in relegation. I mean, he had Forest up there, didn't he? But this is in terms of fighting for survival. Didn't work for him at Chesterfield, his first club, but he took him over when they were bottom anyway. But Portsmouth and Palace, he's done the job, so he's got a track record of doing it.
Yes, he has. As I said, he's got the tools. He'll know what's required. There's fear around the place. He's smelt that. He'll know how to try and quell that a little bit. He'll try and give the players a little bit more confidence going into the games. But I think when we talk about the game this weekend, he'll be looking at that, looking for a good performance, because this will be the springboard for the next 7 or 8 games after that. But, he'll still go in there and say, if we can put a good show on against this lot, what you've got to fear about the rest of the fixtures.
Yeah, it's a good point, Kevin, because they've got a few middle-of-the-table teams in there, haven't they, who perhaps won't have that much to play for, up or down.
Absolutely, and I look at the run-in and I think Harty would be looking, I think that's not a bad run-in. I'm not saying teams throw the towel, they don't, but looking towards the end of the season, if you've got teams in there who aren't really fighting for anything up or down, you'd rather play them than that teams are either fighting down with you or going for promotion.
To lose players, though, like you mentioned there, Billy Painter, Charlie Austin, Gordon Greer went earlier. The guts were taken out of the team, wasn't it?
George, we've talked about this right at the beginning of the show, didn't we? Yeah. You cannot afford to lose quality players. And I think they brought in £2 or £3 million. What was spent in, if you spend £100,000 on a replacement, how can he be as good as someone you've just sold for £1 million? I mean, that was the thing. Terrific strike force. Goals, 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 goals win your games.
Yep. So Swindon going one way at the moment, but Brighton certainly going in the other way under Gus Poyet. And a little 1-0 for them against Notts County shows you how they can dig out results when they want to as well.
I would think that Gus would be delighted now if they finished the season off with all 1-0ers, because that will show that little bit of ruthlessness. For me, they're the standout team of that division. As Chesterfield have been in the division below and QPR above, they do play a lovely style of football, and he's dead right. Gus is an absolute... We've talked about Gus before. He's an absolute diamond fella. He's a real good person to be around.
Standout team in the division, a standout player in the team, probably Elliot Bennett this season, would you say?
Yes, and... a classic example of a player needing to get away from a club to really establish himself. He was at Wolves and he wasn't really getting a chance looking, because how well Mick and Wolves have done. He's come here to Brighton at a team that's been on the up, and it's really stood him out, and he's flourished. Not only just scoring goals, making goals. I mean, to run the length of the pitch there and deliver, that takes some doing. And then look, here's his finishing quality. So at the moment he's on a definite up, a good time and a good place, and the right manager for him.
It's all coming together for Brighton, isn't it? The right time, and the stadium coming along next season. It's all fitting in very nicely, and this is their run-in. And if the way they're playing now carries on, they'll probably be up sometime in April, won't they? Really?
I would have thought so. And looking at that, Gus will look at that and think, what a great way... once again, no disrespect to that, but the Southampton-Huddersfield fixtures are at a point where he might well be already promoted, sorry.
OK, let's take a check on the table then in Football League One and Power League One. And it looks like this way at the top of the table. No, bottom first we'll do. Why not? Sheffield Wednesday are now just 4 points off relegation. They were second on New Year's Eve. That's how far they've fallen. Walsall could move out of the bottom 4 with a win at the MK Dons tonight. And the top, Brighton extend their lead at the top to 10 points with midweek win over Notts County. They've now won 6 in a row, Brighton. Peterborough can go second with a win at Bristol Rovers tonight.
League One, Peterborough were at Bristol Rovers on Friday. But first for you, Brighton, who went into their game with Swindon 10 points clear at the top.
He won't admit it yet, but surely it's only a matter of time before Gus Poyet celebrates promotion with Brighton. Yet another win keeps them firmly on course for the Championship. Craig Noon's mesmeric run led to the opener at Withdean, his route to goal curtailed by Andy Frampton. Poyet couldn't bear to watch as Gary Dicker lined up the penalty. He needn't have worried. Brighton ahead after just 12 minutes. But Swindon, who controlled large parts of this game, responded in spectacular fashion. David Prutton's blockbuster midway through the half levelled the scores. A point the least they deserved, according to Paul Hart afterwards, but ultimately they left with nothing. The decision to award a penalty for Kevin Amankwa's trip on Glenn Murray didn't go down well with the visitors, but once the protests had died down, Dicker was ready to answer his manager's call for a regular penalty taker. A position that could still be up for grabs after failing to beat David Lucas. That miss almost proved costly as Swindon went in search of their first win in 15 matches. As the leaders struggled to clear their lines, Mike Greller very nearly made them pay. But just past the hour, Albion got the goal that saw them equal a post-war record of 7 consecutive wins. Murray's 19th of the season leaves the Seagulls way out in front, and Swindon still 7 points from safety.
Well, later on, we'll have the weekend's League 2 action, but right now it's time to do what the rest of League 1 has failed to do and catch up with Brighton. Seagulls continuing their dash to the League 1 title at home to Swindon. 7 wins in a row now for Gus Poyet's team. They were helped a bit, though, by this early penalty.
Yeah, Brighton have had their problems with spot kicks this season. No worries, though, for Gary Dicker, firmly struck. Goal of the game came from Swindon, though. Certainly a contender for goal of the season from David Prutton. Unstoppable. Goals like that will give Swindon a huge boost as they look to escape the drop.
Brighton then got another penalty and Swindon weren't at all happy about it.
Well, they were outraged, but they were soon a bit happy as Gary Dicker missed. and Swindon with renewed hope that they could take something from the league leaders. Mike Grella struck the bar for Paul Hart's team. No, I still remain hopeful, though, that Swindon will get out of the mess they're in. Brighton's winner came from top scorer Glenn Murray. That's 19 now for the season.
Impressive stuff. It leaves Brighton 10 points clear at the top of League One now, with games in hand over all the rest of the promotion-chasing teams, apart from Southampton, who were on international duty this weekend, with Swindon, as we already saw earlier, down in penultimate place in the division.
6 wins in a row for Brighton is championship form. 10 points clear with 2 games in hand. A happy place to be. But Swindon haven't won in their last 15. That's why they're in the bottom 4. 12 minutes gone. A great run from Craig Noon. Andy Frampton brought him down. Referee Mark Halsey pointed to the spot. Such have been Brighton's problems with penalties. Gus Poyet hasn't been able to watch. No problems though for Gary Dicker. But midway through the first half, and Swindon were level. And how? David Prutton with a magnificent drive from all of 35 yards. His 3rd goal of the season, really one to remember. On the hour, a second penalty for Brighton. Glenn Murray brought down by Frampton this time. And the jinx returned. Dicker's kick saved by David Lucas in the Swindon goal. Almost immediately, Swindon might have taken the lead. Mike Grella rattling the crossbar. The Brighton goal survived. And shortly afterwards, Glenn Murray, the leading scorer, took on the Swindon defence. Finished superbly, his 19th of the season. Brighton now looking odds on for promotion. Swindon increasingly looking like the drop.
Brighton manager Gus Poyet began his coaching career at Swindon. Against his former club, he's looking for 3 more points to take the Seagulls closer to promotion. Goals have dried up for Swindon since Charlie Austin's move to Burnley. The next best are Vincent Pericard and Matt Ritchie with 6, and the latter fell to trouble goalkeeper Casper Ankergren. Craig Noon's mesmerising run led to the opener at the Withdean. His route to goal curtailed by Andy Frampton. Referee Mark Halsey pointed to the spot. Poyet couldn't bear to watch as Gary Dicker lined up the penalty. He didn't have worried. Brighton ahead after just 12 minutes. But Swindon, who control large parts of the game, responded in spectacular fashion. David Prutton's blockbuster levelled the score at the break, which was nothing less than the Robins deserved. A Brighton win would make it 7 league wins on the spin for the first time since 1956. Marcos Painter tried his luck to get the Seagulls back in front. The decision to give a penalty for Kevin Amanqua's trip on Glenn Murray didn't go down well with the visitors, but once the protests had died down, Dick was ready to answer his manager's call for a regular penalty taker, a position that could still be up for grabs after failing to beat David Lucas. That miss almost proved costly as Swindon went in search of their first win in 15 matches. The leaders struggled to clear their lines, and Mike Grella very nearly made them pay. But just past the hour, Albion got the goal that saw them equal that post-war record of 7 consecutive league wins. Murray's 19th of the season leaves the Seagulls way out in front, and Swindon still 7 points from safety.
Yes, it's difficult. People doesn't realize because unfortunately too many people in this country normally look at us and think that it's a job done, and you know that it's not, and you need to keep going, and you need to keep asking the players to do exactly the same and not to relax and to go on and sort it out. Problems like today, because Swindon was very good today, and somehow getting the results. So it's complicated, but it's we need to be proud of this team because they've been excellent so far, and we need to finish in a high.